As promised, I am going to be discussing campaign session zeros in this video. Now, the other day in the brigade, somebody had asked me to weigh in on how to do a session zero and things like that, and my thoughts on it. A lot of times, for me, a session zero is nothing more than character creation and me either explaining what I've already got for ideas for the campaign beginning. So it'd be me talking about the setting, or maybe me talking about how I envision the campaign. Not necessarily giving away any spoilers, but explaining that, hey, I have an idea for a campaign that's more combat or this. It's a lot of me discussing social contract type of things, figuring out what the players want and expect. Because before the characters create a character, sometimes they may or may not know what they want out of the campaign. Some people, it just depends on the kind of character they make. Some people come to the table knowing what character they want to make, some don't. So all of this, I feel, is great for session zero, which you can see in my video for the Anvil Ringers, how I handled session zero there, which was character creation and discussing what we wanted out of the campaign. And we actually came up with pretty much our first session that we haven't played yet. So when I show up for creating a character, I will have the books that I'm going to allow for character creation. I will take a pad of paper for myself. I also take a sheet. I'll show you something I have. So right here, I have a sheet that I use when players are creating their characters. And it's got all their stuff. So not all of it, but the important stuff. So I'll know their class, race, level, alignment, their attribute modifiers, their 2 proficient saving throws. This is for 5th edition. Their passive perception, AC, hit points, and then special notes, like maybe what their trinket is, things like that. And so sometimes I will refer to this when prepping a session later on, things like that. So I'll have that with me, and I will fill that out as we go. I also fill out, I just write notes. So if anything about the characters inspires me, I'll write a note about it. So, things like that. If a player states specifically they want more combat, I'll jot down which character or player that is and roughly how much combat they might want. Just little notes, whatever hits me, whether it's an idea for the campaign, whether it's a play style type of thing, whether it's a goal or dream of their characters. So that's what I do. On top of that, I will, because a lot of times when I start a campaign, I have very little planned before creating characters. I like to see what characters they are playing, and based on what their make is. For example, if my characters came to the table with a bunch of rogues and I had planned a campaign for something else, then now what? Somebody's changing something up. Again, if I came to that session zero and I said, hey, this is what I have in mind, are they still going to make all rogues? Maybe, maybe not. So there's a lot of things. It's a lot of give and take, I feel. And I handle it at session zero. I don't do a lot beforehand. For me, it's pretty much all at the table or, at the hangout. What else? I think it's pretty straightforward with me. I try to simplify everything. So I might redo a session zero. I don't know. Probably won't air it if we do. But again, I don't know. A lot of times in a session zero, you can also explore the players' backstories. So for me, like I said, we'll create characters. If the players want to, and you have time, say you were planning on hanging out for 3 hours, they create their characters in the first hour, you have 2 hours left. Maybe you role play how they came together. Or maybe you just jump right into the game. And so character creation and stuff, a lot of people would just say, oh, well, that was session 1. That might be session 0 if it's still backstory or back. Do you want to play also? I mean, we got our characters made. It's fresh. You want to jump into it? They say yes. Then I might explore, how they came together. That session's You know, but I might not do that stuff. I might do something different. I might go, okay, guys, you're walking down a road heading towards something. Insert city name or insert big historic landmark or whatever. Player 2, why are you on this journey? Player 4, why are you tagging along with player 2? You know, and I might just ask questions that force them to improv why they're there. You know, and by doing that, you're fleshing out why the group is together. And I mean, they've already sat through character creation together, so it just works. And because you sat through character creation together, if you have players who aren't disruptive purposefully, then they will try to factor in why they're with that player based on both of their characters being created, not forcing their own, you know what I mean? There's a little bit of give and take there. You know, as opposed to just saying, oh, well, I'm with him because he's my lackey. You know, you're putting his character down. So sometimes another player might not like that. And you might know from the background of that other guy when he was creating this character that he's not going to like how he's made his character, things he's said through character creation. And so those two players should mesh well together now based on that and based on being good players. And it's sometimes fun putting your players on the spot, especially with things like that. Sometimes having a little bit of stuff not in your control as a player is a good thing. Sometimes having another player add to your backstory or the DM add to your backstory can make it a little bit more fun because it might be a direction you never thought you'd go. So that's stuff that I think is cool for a session 0. You know, I think a lot of it is just getting to the point where why you need a strong reason for your group being together, and I think that's a good place to explore that. Another thing you might explore there is unveiling what the whole campaign is going to be about. Maybe you foreshadow what the campaign's about. You don't necessarily say, hey, this is what's going on, but you might foreshadow. So, for example, everyone makes their characters, and you know right off the bat you want political intrigue. Maybe you started out with the players at a speech by a highly ranked political person, and they like a lot of things you can do with that. But I think it's good as early as possible to let the players know what the campaign is going to be about, because later on when they start leveling up or further diving into what their character is about, knowing what the campaign is about can help steer that as well. So I hope that gave you guys an idea of what I think a session 0 is and how I do it, if I do it, because I don't always do a session 0. Sometimes I'll say, hey guys, create your character, bring your character, and we'll just play. Most of the time that's how I do it. And I do like to see the characters before the first session still. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. You can do a session 0 in many different ways. Some people, you know, do a session 0 with each player as a one-on-one to figure out each player's background and stuff. Some people do it as part of the group, not all the group. All sorts of things happen. So some people start it without your class level, with none of your class stuff yet, and do a session 0 that way. It's cool in theory. You give them their background. So for 5th edition, you would give them their background. You'd give them their trinket. You might give them gold, like you know what class they're going to be. So you might give them gold for the equipment, and then just don't give them the class level until they hit like 500 XP or however much you want, however long you want them to be, whatever they were before they acquired that class. So again, that's something I think would be a lot of fun, really cool to do. But yeah, would love to hear how you guys handle session 0. Be sure to leave a comment below. Maybe you don't do a session 0. Maybe you can explain why. All that good stuff. And be sure to go check out my missions for the party, for the players, for the DM. There are expectations. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.